Hello everybody, I'm Hayden, and this is the first video on my YouTube channel. Today, I'm joined with Isaac and Parker, my good friends, and today, what we will be talking about is why you shouldn't trust your gut instinct. What do you guys think about just like me saying that? Why I think that you guys should not trust your gut instinct.
Initially, it sounds like a hot take.
It sounds like a hot take. Like, is that gonna stir the pot a little bit?
I think it will.
It might. I think as we get into it, we'll devolve. But I feel like there can be a lot to it.
I think both sides can be argued very well.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so first off, before we start, we do have the seltzers in hand in this video. What do you guys have today? I have a Polar Raspberry Lime. I'm a huge Raspberry Lime fan. I usually opt for the Hanford brand, but today we had the Polar, and this is great stuff.
I also got the Raspberry Lime Polar.
Got the orange vanilla Polar. That's one of the best flavors.
The orange vanilla I tried was very good. That was very good stuff.
I like Raspberry Lime better.
Orange vanilla, probably like one of my favorite overall flavors of all time. Like a little creamsicle.
Yo.
Like
the creamsicle. You're right. I agree. That's exactly what it tastes like. Okay, so here we are. So we'll kind of draw back and make a little connection like we did in our podcast on Parker's channel, Healthy Habitat. I'm plugging for you, but great stuff. So we talked about goals, right?
Yep.
Why? And we talked about the difficulty of your goals, right? And how that kind of leads into you wanting to pursue it. Mm-hmm. So let's say times get hard, okay? And you're kind of struggling a little bit. You want to do better, right? But you kind of lose focus, and it's hard to stay locked in on what you're trying to do. What do you do? What are the precautions you take to stay focused on maybe the task at hand that you're just really trying to lock in? Whether that's school, whether that's studying. Mm-hmm. That might be studying. You might want to get a good grade on a test. You might want to study. Right. You might want to learn how to play an instrument, learn piano. You might want to learn code, right? What are your guys' precautions that you're taking in order to help you succeed?
So I think it's really important to keep a focus on your long-term goal. Even if at the moment you're really being challenged, I think you should stick to what you have planned for the long term. If you're still trying to pursue it. If you realize this isn't for me, you can change your goal, of course. But if you're struggling, I think it's still important to look ahead at your long-term goal and be that's what I'm working towards. But then dial it back and be okay, but right now I'm struggling, right? I don't have enough time to do these things. So you might need to change your short-term goal.
Yep.
And adjust what you're doing in the now so you can get to your long-term.
Mm-hmm. So do you think you should have a large long-term goal way up there in the corner, and then your main focus, you don't even really think about it too often, but your main focus is your week by week, this is what I need to get done, and then maybe after a month you kind of reflect on how that's pushing you towards your long-term goal? Would you guys say that that's a good pathway to take?
I like
to
that.
do it?
I think, like Isaac said, it's incredibly important to have an ideal. I think back to the ideal self. Who was that? It's on the tongue.
Yeah.
But just having the ideal life that you want to be living up there, and then everything you do is working towards that. But it's in increments, like you're saying. I think in the moment it's important to stay focused. Reduce distractions, reduce limbic friction. So if you have your phone with you, just put it over in another room, maybe.
Far away. Okay, I think that's a good segue. Yeah. Actually, what you continue.
Jumping off what Parker said, I think it's important to get rid of distractions when you're being productive, but it's also important to have other things to do in between so you don't get burnt out.
Yep.
So having something that you can go to, even if it's just watching TV, taking time to do something other than working towards your goal. Mm-hmm. So you're actually enjoying what you're doing, and you're not just constantly focused on getting it done.
So could someone make the argument that what you're doing, that if you're enjoying it, do you really need to have these external things to kind of fall back to that's comfortable? Or could it be argued that if your goal is really that important to you and it's really something that you enjoy that much, do you really need a lot of other stuff to find happiness and fulfillment throughout your day?
It's fair. I think we talked about this in my podcast, but if you, I feel like if you work on it too much, you might get to a point where it's disguised as productivity, and it's actually you're not getting anywhere. So for me, this was playing video games for 9 hours a day. Like a break for me could be going outside. That was like the productive thing in that moment compared to me playing video games all day.
Right.
And so those breaks would have allowed me to turn into who I am today, where now, I would rather go outside than play video games. And so I think it's like a double-edged sword. If what you're doing for 9 hours a day is like woodworking or like making parts or something that is constantly productive, and you have an eye on the prize, it's great. But until then, I think it's good to have those checks to see like what else is out there.
I agree.
Yeah, and even just having breaks, like even if you're doing 9 hours of productive like woodworking, like let's say, it's still important to be able to go home and relax or go out with some friends.
Exactly.
Like it's important to have these other aspects of your life, so you're not just like in my opinion, it's not healthy to be focused on one thing for like even if it's productive, like it's just not healthy to be focused on one thing constantly.
Yeah, and you know what? as humans, you notice like sometimes you'll get dialed in. All right, like you'll be doing something and you're like, and it's on that good balance of being difficult, but not being easy to where you're bored with it. That's like what they call the golden rule for flow. So like you get in a state where you're just dialed, and you notice it probably lasts it could last up to like an hour and a half, probably. Like if you're doing it like often, it can last longer as you gain like stamina with it. But like 45 minutes to like an hour and a half, that is like our capacity to like really have so much focus to where you look at the clock and you totally like forgot what went on, and like the time just disappeared and got away from you. And when it comes to doing work, I think I agree with Isaac and you Park, that we need that break, that you need that reset. But I would say that when we have that reset, that we do like nothing. Like when we have that time that we're taking, at the end of the day, I would say it's different. Like if it's at the end of your day and now you're not thinking about anything until the next day on like whatever project you're working on. That's when you go out, that's when you like go like socialize and stuff. But if throughout the day, maybe you have different like sessions. Maybe you want to have a really focused session, but you need like an hour, a half hour break. Like I think in those times, that's when you go outside and you just kind of like disconnect. Like I would say like watching TV or like consuming some sort of media. Like your brain was just so focused for like an hour and a half. Now that you're
gonna pull that plug.
Exactly. Now that you're slamming it again with this like other information and other stuff to consume, and I think that kind of puts like a strain. So now when you come back, I would say that you're not going to be as productive in your second session if you didn't have that full disconnect of just maybe even taking a nap. Like I'm talking like you go outside, you go for a walk, and you're just present. I would say that that's a good.
Yeah. So for me, I actually agree with you on that case. Because if I'm doing something like schoolwork, dude, if I dial out for even a minute, I'm done. I can't pick it back up again.
Yeah, I agree.
And I think part of that is it's really hard for me to focus. Like that's I don't know. It's just something that I struggle with.
Yep.
And so if I get focused and I can work for like an hour or two, and then like if I go to take a break, I can't pick it up again. I just can't. Like I need to like get into a mindset, and that's why I'm such a procrastinator, right? With schoolwork, I mean, I'm doing it the night it's due every single time. Yeah. But that's like my motivation. Yeah. And then when I'm doing that, like it's good work, it gets completed.
Exactly.
But like if I'm trying to do it early, dude, like it is just so hard for me to get down. So exactly. that's something that I struggle with a lot.
Yep. So okay, so I think again that's another good segue. So when we think about procrastination, like what happens when you're just sitting there? And like, is it your mind? Does your mind start wandering, or like, do you like see something on your phone that's like next to you, or like what would you say just kind of gets in the way? That just
for me, it's beating myself up over the fact that I'm not doing it, and so I feel like a terrible person because I'm not doing it.
Yep.
And then at that point, I just don't want to do it because I'm already a terrible person. You know, so
Yeah.
like I've established, okay, if I'm not gonna do this, I'm bad, and so I'm just not gonna do it because I'm already like by definition bad.
Yeah.
And so that it just evolves into that, and
Yeah.
I will just like I'll just wait as long as possible to do something.
Sure. Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah, for me, it's like I've already said, it's the focusing thing. Like I just like I can sit down to try and do work, and I just can't.
Yeah.
Like it's so hard for me.
Mm-hmm.
And even like I have a Zoom class.
Yeah.
Like it's not that I'm sitting there like not trying to pay attention. Like I'm not sitting there playing video games during my Zoom class.
Mm-hmm.
But if I try, I can't focus for more than like 3 minutes.
Yeah.
It's so bad.
Yeah.
Like I'll just start like I have like in my room where I work, I have 2 different rooms right now because my sister moved out, so I took her room.
Yep.
And I kind of set up like a little like schoolwork / like music room.
Yeah.
So I have my piano sitting right
Exactly.
there. And even if it's not on, like it's just distracting.
Yeah.
Like I'll be sitting there trying to do my Zoom, and I'm just like I'll turn and I'm like, but even like if there's nothing, like I'll just like start like slamming the keys, or I'll look around the room, and then I'm like, oh shoot, I just missed like 5 minutes of important
like
information.
lecture. Yeah.
I dial back in for like a minute or two, and then I'm off wandering again.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It's just
So let's talk about what causes that, and I think you guys know what I'm reaching for, as this fancy little rectangle that we have in our pocket right here. You know, don't dog me. I still got a home button, but that's fine. Okay, is the phone, and I think like we're talking about attention spans, and I mean, doing focus work nowadays is harder than ever. I mean, it takes me 1, 2, 3 clicks. I'm on the internet. 3 clicks, I'm on the internet, and I can look up anything in the world I want. There's so many rabbit holes to go down. And I mean, don't even get me started on like the whole, like you notice nowadays every app's adopting like the video scrolling. The most recent one I saw was Amazon Inspire.
What?
Amazon, if you go on the app, they have a thing, it's called like Amazon Inspire. And it's people like it's like TikTok videos of people just like unboxing stuff and like Amazon stuff.
That's crazy.
Like I was going on there shopping for something, and I click on that, and I'm like, no way. And I did actually spend a good 8 minutes, 8 to 10 minutes, and then I'm like, holy crap,
Wow.
I'm already getting like sucked.
Yep.
Right?
That's surprising. Like that is shocking for me.
For Amazon to do that.
Yeah.
Those engineers know what they're doing.
I mean, I'm seeing like you see it everywhere now. Like then I had YouTube Shorts, Instagram Reels. Like it's all started from TikTok, right?
Yeah, and a lot of it's for marketing too. Like I'm okay. But like yell at me if you want. I'm a decent social media user, right? I have TikTok, right?
Yep.
But like it's almost hard for me to scroll on TikTok now because every 3 or 4 videos there's an actual advertisement.
Yeah, and they're trying to sell you
and
something.
then another 3 or 4 videos there's like a commission video where they're trying to sell something off of TikTok shop.
Yep.
Another 3 or 4 videos there's a live stream, and I don't want to sit there while watching a live stream. So it's like there's all this clutter, and it's just constantly trying to sell you things.
Yeah.
And TikTok's actually really hard for me to scroll through because it's so like I don't know.
Yeah, and you know what, people, it's like they recognize that people get lost in scrolling.
Yeah.
So they're like, how can we take advantage of that? We're just gonna plug our content into where everyone
as much as possible.
is constantly glued.
I
Which
think
is
that's where Instagram has TikTok right now. Is Instagram, for me at least, is so targeted to what I like. Maybe because I don't use TikTok as much, but TikTok's like you said, it's crazy. TikTok's turned much more into marketing and selling. And so Instagram, I find it so easy to fall into Instagram because it's exactly what I want.
It's so personalized.
And
like,
I've never had anything that's like not what I want.
Like almost every single post I scroll by, I like, because it's like these are all like good, like,
And every time you like it, it's adding to that like algorithm, and it's adding to that personalization. And now it just builds, and it's so hard because I think, you just get that hit of dopamine, that thing that's just like, wow, this is funny, right? Like the kind of thing hit you get from like an in-person social interaction with someone where like they tell a joke and you guys are having a real authentic like conversation, and like your friend says a joke and it's funny. Oh, you guys laugh for like 30 seconds. Boom. Dopamine. Boom. Serotonin. Boom. You're feeling good, right? And that's positive. But how often does that happen? I mean, you see your friends, we see each other a fair amount, like probably like a few times a week, right?
Yeah.
But that can just be crammed all together into that rectangle in your pocket.
Mm-hmm.
And now it's taking like why do people even need to go out anymore? Why do I need to go out and pursue making meaningful friendships if I can get that same hit from just opening my phone? Right?
Go ahead.
I want to jump back into focus work with this. Is, you know, if you spend an hour and a half on focus work and then you take 15 minutes to pick up your little rectangle.
Your rectangle. Are we going to call it that? The fancy rectangle?
Yeah. You code that into your brain that if I work for an hour and a half, I can get 15 minutes of free dopamine.
But then, like, you start scrolling and 15 minutes pass and it's like, well, I'm just going to keep going.
Yeah.
Like,
exactly.
So
like
you
get sucked in, yeah.
Or you end your break and then you start working, but now your brain's full of content.
Yeah.
And over time, your brain just
It's
wired.
just too much information.
Yeah, that, and your brain gets wired to know that if I work for a certain amount of time, I'll get this dopamine. And so you're not going to be focused on the work, and you'll just evolve into like always like wanting this fancy rectangle.
Right, you're just like waiting for like the clock to tick down so you can then pick up your phone.
So like your brain gets cluttered. Your brain can take in about 11 million bits of information per second. But your conscious like mind, right, the mind where you're actually thinking and using it rationally, can take in about 40. Like that difference, like it is so easy to get your brain cluttered with just all this stuff, right? And you see stuff online, like I will say, like I'll be looking up something, and a lot of times I get a lot of this stuff, and it's these like free like courses and like coaching programs and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And they claim that they have the next big thing that you want to get into, and you're like, and they're saying like basically like this will change your life, this and that, right? And it's kind of geared off some of the content that I watch, because I watch like, you know, like self-improvement stuff and stuff like in that realm. And so it just sends you that, and it's basically saying like, this will change your life. And then you like think about it, and then you see another one, and there's so many, and it's so easy to get yourself like feeling like worse. You're like, wow, like they're selling you on the fact that like if you scroll past this, like you're missing out on your life being changed. They're selling you a chance. Exactly.
Like it's just
exactly, and it's so easy for people to get feeling down like they're not doing the right thing, because all these people are telling you that you're missing a chance to change your life every few times you scroll. And I think that's such a detriment to, you know, everyone scrolling through social media. Like it's just selling you like a dream.
Yeah, it really drives that like, you know, if I'm not gonna do it, I'm not a good person, and you just keep falling down that rabbit hole. That's where I was the past like few weeks. Is it's so easy to stop a habit and then not pick it back up just because I've determined that at that point I'm a bad person, or like I'm not like gonna succeed because I don't have these habits, and so I just keep devolving, thinking about the fact that I'm not doing it, and so I just won't pick it back up. It's so hard to find that drive again. I'm getting there. You know, I stopped lifting, and so that was like a big thing. You know, I would think like, oh, I haven't hit the gym in a month, and it's like, oh, well, now I'm getting weaker. Like, you know, like I might as well just not go because, you know, my elbow's gonna just hurt again, and then, you know, like I'm wasting time because I have homework to do, and so it just like devolves into like all these things that like should be done. That's why I think it's important to have that ideal goal that you always work towards, and so you establish habits and concrete steps, you know, like you guys were saying, week by week, month by month, that you can work towards, and you have like the ideal things that you want to do in line with that.
So now going to back when we were talking about technology, so I like to connect everything to like an evolutionary standpoint. I like to think, because now we're on the stage, and it will be this way for the rest of our life, because humans, with the advancements of technology, humans have not adapted to like this like intake of information the way that we're intaking it. Because how many years has like this access been around? What, like you're like
not that long.
Not that long.
What? When was Facebook? 2000, early 2000s.
Something like that.
Yeah. Right. Like we're talking like 20 years. All right. Like humans have been around for, holy crap. Like we're like looking back so far, thousands, right? And the way that we're meant to function is geared toward the stuff that happened over that 1,000 years, not toward the stuff that's happening in 20 years, not 100 years, like more than that, right? Like maybe not even our kids, right? So I think, you know, in a survival sense, we think of like comfort, like our phone, like it might bring us comfort, right? Like it lets us feel good. And just because the dopamine, because we get that from
That warm, like fuzzy feeling.
exactly. And in like a primal sense, where do we get that from? We get that from survival, right? We get that from eating.
Yep.
You know, we get that from like procreating and like having children, right?
Yep.
And that, like, we get that. You get that from like being warm under your blanket in the morning, right?
Yeah.
Like you feel nice and fuzzy, warm under your blanket in the morning,
Yep.
and you know that you're like
Safe.
you're safe, and you're like, okay, I want cereal. I can go. The cereal's sitting in the pantry, like it's there, right? The people who had to hunt and kill for their food, there was no cereal in the pantry.
Yeah.
Like they had to get out of their warm, right, and go and kill it, because what's gonna happen is they were gonna die.
Yeah.
They weren't gonna survive. So I think that now with technology, I think that it's not good for the mind, because our mind seeking comfort is survival. Like
Right.
if we were comfortable, that means that we were alive. That means that we were doing something correct that caused us to survive.
Yeah.
And those things that brought us comfort was so vastly more difficult
Yeah.
than putting my fingerprint in my home button that I still have
For sure.
to open my phone.
And so we're like normalizing, using your fancy rectangle, you associate that with comfort. And so now you think you're safe when you sit on TikTok all day, but it's not like that.
Exactly. Exactly. Because your brain's like, oh my gosh, this is like there might be like something, bad out there. I'm just going to stay safe. I'm going to stay safe. I'm going to stay happy, huddled over my phone, because that equals survival in my sense.
Yeah,
right?
people find comfort in social media, which is crazy because, like, I mean, just looking back a few years, like, social media was more of like a bad, like, space. Like you don't go on social media because there's these mean comments and it's, like, so, like, negative for your mental health.
Yeah.
Which it still is.
Yeah.
Like, rude comments and stuff like that. Like, it can get to your brain. And then now it's just like you're going there for comfort, and it's even like very different in just the last few years.
Yeah, like you said with the likes, and you know what, and people going on there and they're not like happy.
Right.
I think that now you get into social media, causing like mental illness. Like another hot take. Like I love hot takes. If you guys didn't know,
Yeah.
Like I don't think that. Like you hear about like the existence of like depression, like I think that is so geared toward like social media. I think social media is so heavy on that, and I think that depression is like it's curable without if we didn't have this constant comparison that we're sitting there looking at the best versions of everyone's life. And the people who are trying to sell me this program that's going to change my life, and they're like, "Oh my gosh, I didn't click on it. Wow, I'm just gonna be a chump. I'm just gonna be a chump the rest of my life because I didn't click on that program. I didn't like they said the value of this. You spend $2,000 on my program, and it's gonna pay off for the rest of your life. And you're like, well, I didn't do that. I hope someone else said the same thing. And it's just this constant cycle of you just looking and comparing to people, and that's not even their life. That's not even their life.
No, it's not.
Like
The front.
And it's not even the best versions of their life. It is like almost like a fake, because they are literally like filters. They're like getting all these angles. They're getting everything. Like if you were there, it is portrayed so much better on social media.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, social media is absolutely linked to depression.
Yeah.
Like it's like proven. So, I mean, I don't know. It's such a like weird concept that like we have like our devices right here, like so easily like available. And if they cause depression so much, then why are we attracted to them?
Yep.
Like if it causes all these issues, then why do we go back? And that's like the dopamine thing, right?
Yep.
Like,
Yep.
Dopamine hits.
Like
So
we jump
Exactly.
in because it's comfortable.
yeah.
That's crazy. And
And-
it's just like,
And it's just this downward spiral,
yeah,
and you're just addicted. You have to keep doing it,
Yeah.
although it's causing you like this like internal like pain. That receptor that tells you that this is comfortable, that this is survival, is what's causing you
right.
pain.
Right.
And it's just this cycle, and you just see how that just goes around and around and just shoots you down that hole. And it's just so hard to get out of, because this is the first time we've ever experienced this.
For sure.
Right? In the last 20 years, like we don't know like the long-term effects of like this kind of stuff, right?
Yeah.
Because it just feels so easy.
Right.
It feels so easy. Yep. So that was one of my main points I really wanted to hit on, because I think that's just something we need to work on. So what do we think are some actionable steps that we can use to free ourselves from like this burden that we feel, like this draw that just draws us to this loop, just like this black hole?
Yeah.
The black hole.
So for the last, I don't know, over a year probably, I haven't had notifications on my phone like for forever. Like it's like I have like my silencer on, and then I also took the extra step to turn off vibrations. So like sometimes, I miss a call or two, or I don't see a text, which is, not great. But I mean, I'm not getting anything through. So like these social media notifications, whatever, they don't draw me in unless I'm actively seeking my phone.
Yeah.
So if it's like, even if it's in my pocket, it's not a distraction unless I'm actively seeking it, which is a completely different thing.
So like when you're deciding that I'm gonna be on my phone, that's the opportunity when you're gonna like that. Like if you get these notifications, okay, I'll look at that.
Yeah.
But like you're saying, when I'm not on my phone, I'm not even gonna be bothered by it.
Yeah,
I'm not
because
gonna let
it
On your own
doesn't.
time.
Yeah.
Exactly. Okay, I like that. I like that.
I think for me, staying busy, I need, that's a really good step. I think the first one is making it your own time. So you don't let Snapchat define when you go on the app, you let you define it. And so for me, whenever I get a notification, I'll open my phone, oh, somebody snapped me. And so like if it's somebody I want to talk to, I'll open it. But like if I'm doing something, I'm disrupting what I'm doing to jump into something else that is much less important. And so that's a really good first step. But I think from there, make yourself busy. Like once you've established the fact that you choose when to use your phone, find something to do when you're not using your phone, or like to replace you using your phone all day. So whether that be pursuing a hobby, you do music.
Yeah.
I'm doing content creation. You're outside all the time.
Yeah.
You've got your stuff going on, and so staying busy. Having something to get your mind off of that. I think it works with any addiction. Just making it so that there's a lot of friction between you and what you're trying to stay away from.
Yeah. I think a really important thing is finding more social time. Like, because you're filling the void of not being able to see people, not being able to hang out with people with scrolling. Yeah. So like if you can, I mean, people are busy, right? You're busy, other people are busy, your schedules don't line up. But I mean, as much as you can, like go out with your friends, have a good time. And generally speaking, you won't be on your phones because you're all around each other, you're having a good time.
Yep. And you know what? Like, I think that's the thing about phones is that I love the idea of is that you can contact people to like set up like meetups, like us. Like we had a group chat. Hey, let's leave at this time and we're gonna get here, right? Like that. And for us to meet up, I think that's such a great tool. And that's the great thing. Like you can use it positively for stuff like that to set up interactions. Yep. And that's my favorite thing about it, because I know, and I mean, when you're having a good interaction in person, how important, how good that feels, right? Like it doesn't compare. It can't compare, right? But sometimes if you have like enough of it, if you're snapping just 700 different people that you're never going to talk to, right? Yeah. And then another thing, I mean, for staying connected, I think it's good for staying connected. Like, like you're busy throughout the week, you want to set something up with someone, you just want to check in. Totally, I think that is a good balance, and I think that's totally a good thing. But so what I was gonna say for my setup, for my like notification management thing, because I agree with what you said, how that's the notifications, like they buzz and it can totally throw you out of something that you're really trying to work in. And then you talked about being busy, right? So I would say, you said keep yourself busy. I would say that when keeping yourself busy, like you separate your tasks out, so you're focusing on like one thing at a time, right? So you might not actually have 700 different things you need to be doing. Like you might be like, oh, I got a meal prep. I gotta get my food ready for the week. But I gotta listen to this book, and then I gotta take notes on it, right? Like, you can stuff that all into one task. You could be cooking your food for the next day. You could be weighing out everything, putting it in your MyFitnessPal. You could also be listening to your book, but also taking notes on it on your computer. Like, you see, and you can stuff it all into this one thing. But the actual like quality of like that outcome is not gonna be good, right?
Yeah.
So,
I will say I love cooking while listening to things.
Okay. And
I will literally, like, even if I'm just making lunch.
Yeah.
Like for the day, it probably takes me like an hour and a half, which is crazy. Like I take forever to cook, but it's so fun. Yeah. I love cooking, and I'll be listening to like a long form YouTube video or whatever, and it's just.
And that's why I just made the point of note taking. If you were listening for the intent to understand and like take notes, then it's just like this whole deal. So in terms of keeping yourself busy, I think that it is better to have lots of like you have like your tasks are laid out one at a time.
Yeah.
So like when you do it, you will take less time on your task because you have your full focus like just pushed into it, right?
Yeah.
So you do that. And then you have your next task, right? And you might have your time in between just to like check your phone, right? But in between those times, do not disturb. I just slapped that on, right? Like I didn't really do much to like my notifications, but I just slap on do not disturb because like that, like my phone will not do anything. A call will come through. Calls come through, right? On do not disturb. So whatever. So calls come through, right? So I mean, I assume if it's like an emergency. And a call comes and someone calls, that makes sense, right?
Yeah, that's something that I need to probably switch to is do not disturb instead of complete silence because I miss a lot of calls. Yeah. And I'll respond to text like an hour later, like
Exactly. But yeah, so you have your tasks, slap on do not disturb. You just fully focus, invest as much as you can in that task. And then after, slap it off to like if anyone tried to contact me, I don't even want to try and go onto my phone. Like I'll just see you'll see I see my notifications on the front page, just kind of like just check.
Yep.
Just check if anyone decided to call me because if I go into the app, then there's all these other little shiny icons trying to pull you in. But yeah, so I agree. I think that's good. I mean, take advantage of do not disturb.
Yeah.
And take advantage of like the features that you have on your phone to be able to do that because the quality of work that you want to get done. Because let's be real. Like having work and like something you're like pushing towards is gonna get you out of that hole of like the people who are in that like state, that like depression, that comparison, right?
Yeah.
Having something to work towards that feels good to you, that's what's gonna pull you out of that. I think that's like the main solution, right?
Yeah.
And nowadays we're in a time that we have so many options because back in like the primitive times, what was their goal? Was to survive.
Right.
Like
Survive,
reproduce. Like they couldn't pursue a lot of like intellectual like advancement stuff and a lot of like stuff that like worked different parts of the brain and stuff that maybe they were interested in because they had to focus on like not dying, right?
Yeah.
So we're lucky that we have, or in order to fill that because obviously they needed that to survive. In order to fill that void, we have to have an avenue to do that with something else, especially as men, especially as dudes. All right, we are purpose driven. Guys are purpose driven. Like that is what keeps us pushing forward, and that's what keeps us out of that hole, and from coming anywhere close to that hole is having that goal that we talked about up in the corner. So I think that to fill that void, we find something, and then you can just focus your full time on it, or like your full focus on it. For the time that you allot and not let yourself get distracted. So with that, I mean, it all comes full circle, right? Like managing your distractions to do quality, good, focused work toward the stuff that makes you like feel like purposeful, like why you were put on this earth to do whatever it is you want to do.
Sure.
Yeah.
So
it's big. Something that not everybody thinks of either. It's like an abstract. I would consider like an abstract idea. It's not, I don't think a lot of people dumb it down to the core values of man. It's you have to like really be conscious of the fact that it's like ingrained in us.
Yep.
And that we disguise it as, the comfort of scrolling on our fancy square is so easy because we like it and it keeps us safe. And so it just ties right back in.
Yep. So up here in my notes, I had my title. This is why you shouldn't trust your gut. And then it said, so the connection I'll make back to that, just so we know where that title comes from, is I would say that like trusting your gut. And then in parentheses, I have how unharnessed primal instinct is killing us. That primal instinct that we have to search for that comfort, right? Because that obviously we now know that has led us to like survive. Like that comfort meant we were surviving.
Mm-hmm.
That's our instinct. And nowadays, if that is unharnessed, we're gonna pick up our phone and we're gonna find that comfort on the phone, right? So I think ultimately that's why that unharnessed instinct is killing us. So I would say the harnessing of it is the point we just discussed in finding something, finding an avenue for purpose.
Yeah.
Because for men, it's vast. For men, there's so many things that we can pursue, and we just have to find what that thing is in order to harness that instinct that we all have. Because again, like I said, connecting back to earlier, nowadays we don't have. So basically, as guys, we have that instinct inside of us that we need something. We need that purpose. We need that drive. Because what were guys supposed to do in like these primitive times? Like they were like had to protect, right? Like as a man, we're naturally like made stronger. We have to go out protect. We have to fight. We have to hunt for food so that our family can continue to survive. And now that life is like safe. Like life is relatively safe, and we don't have to worry about a saber-toothed tiger attacking us, right? We can go to the grocery store. We can hop in our car.
We
don't have to run. We don't have to travel miles out into the woods and set up hunting camps in order to come back with a boar on our back for our family to eat, right?
We go to work, make money, go to the store.
Exactly, right? Like it is safe. So I think to harness that energy that ends up drawing us to our phone, right? The energy that draws us to our phone because of how comfortable it is. If we have to harness that through finding an avenue of purpose.
Yeah.
Because the purpose is what in our brain is to find comfort, right? And we find that through there, and we can find that fulfillment through other things, whether that's intellectually, whether that's starting a business, whether that's you want to have your own farm, you want to live out in the woods in a log cabin, right? Like all this stuff.
And that kind of goes back to what we were talking about at the beginning, like having a long-term goal. Like that is so important. And even if like I didn't know what I wanted to do until more recently. But like it's important to have that long-term goal so you have something to work towards. So you can like keep in mind like I can sit here and scroll, or I could do this so I can reach my goal and then my life will be better, right?
Yep.
So
So but all right, guys, I think we have reached our conclusion for today. I'm happy to have you guys on just as a quick recap, just to know how we covered everything. We don't trust our gut, and we find what our purpose was to do on this earth, because now it's so easy to get sucked in. And I think that we talked about in your podcast right now, I think all of us, we're all on our own purpose. We're searching for our thing. We're all searching for our own thing that's important. And I'll make the argument that if you don't know what your purpose is, finding your purpose is a purpose in itself.
Yeah.
And if you're in that process of self-discovery, you don't need to feel like that empty feeling of not having a purpose. Like that in itself is a job for you to figure out and find.
Yep.
And especially for men, the way that we were made, that is 100% a necessity to live a fulfilling life. So I'd like to thank my guest for coming on with me. Isaac, Parker, you guys have plugs you guys want to?
Yeah, sure. My name is Parker D'Amelia. I have a YouTube channel. All my socials are just Parker D'Amelia. You can look me up on Spotify, Healthy Habitat. I run a podcast. That's about it. I'm a student here at Thomas College studying computer science. I'm hoping for great things.
Yeah. I'm Isaac Young. Don't really have anything to plug, but I'm working on some music stuff right now, and I go to Central Maine Community College for education.
All right. Thank you guys very much. And thank you guys for watching. Have a great rest of your day. And just keep in mind everything we talked about today. So keep getting after it and have a good one.